You know, it wasn't always like this. Flat, boring. You ever notice that being on the internet just doesn't feel the same anymore? Everything is so simplified that it just starts to all look the same. Have you ever looked back at old games or old Windows wallpapers or just any media at the time and noticed that it just felt more alive and had an actual personality? You remember when you would see glossy buttons, vibrant colors, nature? That was Frutiger Aero. Frutiger Aero? What is that? You might be asking. Or not, maybe you know everything. Frutiger Aero was a visual design aesthetic that was prevalent from the mid-2000s to the early 2010s. It was often seen in tech branding, UI, ads, and just overall graphic designs during that time. Frutiger Aero is known for its use of glossy textures, water, vibrant colors, and skeuomorphism, which I'll explain later on. The term Frutiger Aero was coined by Sophie Lee in 2017, which caused this aesthetic to regain popularity in 2022. It was named after Adrian Frutiger, who created the Frutiger font, which was used by Microsoft, with Aero being a backronym for authentic, energetic, reflective, and open. I cannot overstate how much I love Frutiger Aero. It literally makes me feel like the world is okay, which it's not. This is how my phone looks like, so I'm really about that shit. Anyways, today I'm going to be going over the Frutiger Aero Iceberg, which was created by GrungeMan420 and TrueLight on Reddit, so shout out to them. Now, this iceberg's already been covered a year ago by Void Ocean, so if you've seen his video, this one's basically the same, except it's me. Haha.
That's literally so unoriginal.
So without further yapping, let's get into the Frutiger Aero Iceberg. If you've used YouTube during the early 2010s, you've definitely heard of this. 009 Sound System is a musical project created by Alexander Pearls, known for its blend of electronic, ambient, and orchestral elements. Their most popular song, Dreamscape, gained massive notoriety on the internet after being widely used in YouTube videos in the 2010s. Usually you would see these in tutorials or informative videos back in the day. 009 Sound System is often associated with Frutiger Aero because of its ethereal and almost dreamlike atmosphere. Fun fact, the reason you would hear this song a lot back then is because of YouTube's auto swap feature. If a song was copyrighted, YouTube offered users to switch out that song for a song in their library. The song's artists were ordered alphabetically, so people would see 009 Soundscape as one of the first ones. This era of YouTube was pure Frutiger Aero, from its rounded buttons to its glossy and gradient logo. The content shown at the time was more random and chaotic since it really had no algorithm to push it forward. Simpler times. Then YouTube eventually became more minimalist and simple as we know it now. Unfortunately. Daniel Rosenfeld was a German musician known as C418. He was most known for his compositions for Minecraft like Volume Alpha and Beta. He created tracks like Sweden, Subwoofer Lullaby, Living Mice, and many more. He then went on to work on his own projects after that. C418 is basically the GOAT, and his music still lives on to this day. One of the defining features of Frutiger Aero is its glossiness, which can be seen in all the media associated with it. From water to glass to reflections, if it had gloss, it was Frutiger Aero. Around 2012, corporations started replacing this with flat and more geometrical shapes and designs, and that glossy look is mostly a thing of the past. The iDog was a robot dog produced by Sega in 2005. It was designed to react to sound, whether it be from a speaker or to a connected device like an iPod or MP3 player. The iDog could dance to music and had various LED lights in its face that would change color depending on its emotion. It had a mimic feature, which was supposed to make it talk back to you, but all it would really say is I'm not kidding, listen. It had a glassy and reflective body which encapsulated the Frutiger Aero aesthetic. And there were also other variations like the iCat, the iFish, the iTurtle. There was an iPenguin. And yeah, I never had these as a kid, but pretty cool. The first iPhone was released in 2007, and with it released iOS 1. iOS 1 used skeuomorphism, which I'll explain what that is later, and glossy icons that were used all the way until iOS 6. Then, when iOS 7 was released, they simplified it. I'll never forget what they took away from me. Just kidding, I changed all my icons back, and you can change it back too with the Shortcuts app. I recommend it. No, nicknames are for friends.
And Michael Mouse is no friend of mine.
The Michael Mouse Clubhouse show was created in 2006, and it's a show where Michael Mouse and his friends would educate kids by dealing with conflicts. The only thing I really remember about this show personally is the mouse tool, and that hot dog dance they did at the end. This was one of the first fully CGI Disney Junior shows, and the visuals of the show feel artificial yet futuristic. It has a shiny yet almost plastic look to it, with bright bold colors and that glossy finish. I still don't trust you, Michael Mouse. The Nintendo DS was a handheld console released by Nintendo in 2004. DS stands for dual screen, which is one of the features that the DS was known for. It went on to be the second best-selling console of all time, only behind the PS2. It had a great library of games, and some of which fit right into the Frutiger Aero aesthetic. Look at Electroplankton, for example. Wow. The DS itself was very glossy, and its UI was bubbly and rounded. And I mean, just listen to this. Ah. Now that's what I call music's album covers are just full of gloss. This is like Frutiger Aero to a T. The ocean, the bubbles, the gloss. Wow. Now that's what I call Frutiger Aero. Sorry. I don't really need to explain this one too much, but come on, just look at it. Portal is a puzzle game developed by Valve in 2007, where players can use a portal gun. Can you guess what they shoot? Portals! You play as Chell, a test subject trapped in the Aperture Science Enrichment Center, and you're guided by a self-aware AI named GLaDOS. The game itself has a lot of gloss, and it's very clean and futuristic, and fits right into the Frutiger Aero style. I feel like I've said Frutiger Aero so many times. Frutiger Aero, Frutiger Aero, Frutiger Aero, Agua. The XMB, or Cross Media Bar, was the GUI used for the PlayStation 3 and PSP. It was designed by Japanese UI artist Yasuhiro Yamanaka. The menu uses blue gradients and aurora-like patterns that fit Frutiger Aero perfectly. The PlayStation 4 also has a similar menu, but it's not on this iceberg for some reason, but yeah, that one too. Before we got whatever this hellscape is, Roblox used to have so much charm, with gloss in its UI, gradients, and, personality. This is Roblox's sign-in screen on mobile. Isn't this just the most beautiful thing ever? With its usage of gloss and nature, you can see why it made it on this iceberg. Then Roblox became the Cheez-It that it is now. Skeuomorphism is when digital items resemble their real-world counterparts. Early users of technology like the iPhone were unfamiliar with how to use it, so the use of skeuomorphism was to create a sense of familiarity and make it less confusing for the people trying to understand it. For example, the trash bin icon for deleting files mimics a real trash can, so people could put two and two together and be like, I've seen this before. Super Mario Galaxy was a 2007 platform game developed and published by Nintendo for the Wii. The premise of Mario Galaxy was that you would travel from world to world collecting stars, and some of these worlds really give off that Frutiger Aero vibe. It has a bubbly UI and glossy shards that you could find throughout the levels. This was also one of my favorite Mario games of all time, and I think it's still a timeless classic. Now, I don't really get why this is on here, as the office doesn't really give off the Frutiger Aero vibe to me. The only thing I can really think of is the office computers that they use, which run on Windows XP. But besides that, yeah, no, I have no idea why this is on here. WALL-E was a Pixar film released in 2008, which told the story of a robot named Wall-E on an abandoned Earth who falls in love with another robot named Eve. The film explores themes of environmentalism, consumerism, and humanity's dependence on technology, which is kinda what's going on nowadays. The film is set in space and has a lot of glossy and futuristic designs, which give off that Frutiger Aero vibe. I mean, look at Eve.
Holy fucking shit. Fuck.
The Wii was a console released by Nintendo in 2006 that focused on motion controls and had a sleek, futuristic design for its time. Everything about this was Frutiger Aero, from the console itself being white and glossy, to the menu with its soft and bubbly UI. The Wii's background music was soft and playful, yet futuristic and digital. Many games such as Wii Sports, Mario Galaxy, and Sonic Colors give off the Frutiger Aero vibe as well. I see it especially when playing Wii Sports Resort. The Wii U, released in 2012, was Nintendo's follow-up to the Wii. It sold pretty poorly in comparison to Nintendo's other consoles, but I still got some enjoyment out of it. The Wii U's menu had a lot of Frutiger Aero in it, with gloss everywhere and subtle gradients. People don't really talk about the Wii U much, but honestly it had one of my favorite menus of all time. And who could forget the Miiverse? Windows 7 was released in 2009 and was the successor to Windows Vista. It was the fan favorite amongst all the Windows versions, and it's a core example of what Frutiger Aero is. It has a lot of gloss, nature, gradients, you name it, it has it. It is just, it's peak. These were the wallpapers introduced with Windows 7 and featured glossy smooth architecture, nature, and landscapes. But nothing tops this classic wallpaper though. This is perfection. They even had Frutiger Metro in some wallpapers, which I'll get into what that is later. But yeah, Windows 7 wallpapers perfectly fit into the Frutiger Aero aesthetic. One of the most distinctive features of Windows 7 was its Aero Glass interface. This introduced translucent and glossy windows with soft gradients, which really gave Windows 7 that whole Frutiger Aero feeling. Similar to Windows 7, Windows Vista's wallpapers had gradients and a color scheme that encapsulated their Frutiger Aero aesthetic. Windows Vista, however, usually focused more on Aurora-like patterns that even became its own subgenre of Frutiger Aero, named Frutiger Aurora. And you know what? I like this so much, I'm gonna make this my wallpaper right now. Windows XP was released in 2001. It introduced the Luna interface, which was vibrant, colorful, and much more approachable than the previous versions of Windows. Windows XP laid much of the groundwork for the visual trends that would come to define the Frutiger Aero aesthetic, with some gradients and a lot of nature. The default wallpaper of Windows XP is also hands down one of the most iconic and recognizable wallpapers of all time. This image was called Bliss, and it was taken by former National Geographic photographer Charles O'Rear in January of 1998. This is one of the most, if not the most, iconic wallpapers of all time. Very cool, very awesome. Microsoft debuted the Xbox 360 in early 2005 and released the Xbox 360 Blades dashboard. It instantly became a fan favorite with its unique, glossy, and gradient designs. It was the Xbox 360's dashboard until it got replaced by NXE, which in my opinion was also really good. Eco-modernism is a core philosophy of Frutiger Aero and Frutiger Eco, which I'll get into what that is soon. It was the philosophy which pushed for technological development that also protects nature and grows alongside it rather than against it. It believed in separating economic growth from negative environmental impacts, where cities can live in harmonies with nature. It embraces substituting natural ecological services with synthetic solutions as long as it doesn't impact the environment negatively, or the least it possibly can. This entry goes hand in hand with the next one. Frutiger Eco is similar to Frutiger Aero, but it focuses on renewable energy and living in harmony with nature. It incorporates architecture that is centered around nature and sustainability. This was used a lot during the mid-2000s and 2010s, and it was usually to spread awareness for climate change. Frutiger Metro, also known as Flat Frutiger Aero, is a term to describe the transition from Frutiger Aero to a more flat and minimalist design aesthetic that uses mostly vector-based graphics. This was mostly seen in the 2010s and uses gradient blocks, blooms, and floral-based designs. It's usually associated with music as well. Frutiger Metro combines flat minimalism with maximalist designs as well, and it's kind of the sweet spot between Frutiger Aero and the corporate minimalism that we know now. Now, I don't know exactly what this entry is referring to, but it could be the logo, or just how bright and colorful and optimistic everything was back then. The outfits a lot of the stars used were very Frutiger Metro, which I guess counts. There's also this website at the time too, which had a lot of gloss and gradients, so maybe it could be that. Just look at it. Gimme. Windows Longhorn was the codename for Windows Vista before it released. Development for Longhorn began in 2001 and had elements of Frutiger Aero, like the gloss and the gradients. Then in 2007, it became what we know now as Windows Vista. From 2008 to 2010, Cartoon Network debuted Nudes, which were these little animated figures that would touch a color or a pattern and become different Cartoon Network characters. These were bumpers similar to the ones that you would see on Adult Swim before a show. These bumpers were very bubbly and colorful, and if they kept going with it, I could definitely see these becoming figures, like Go-Go's. Shout out my last video. DeviantArt had pixelated emoticons that had some gloss, if you really squint. Yeah. FreeBSD is an operating system from Berkeley Software Distribution. The first version was released in 1993 and was the first fully functional and free Unix clone. The logo for this is very glossy and fits right into Frutiger Aero. Geometry Dash is a side-scrolling platforming music game that was released on August 2013 for iOS and Android and was developed by Robert Topala. While Geometry Dash was released slightly after the peak of Frutiger Aero in 2013, it still retained many of its key distinctive elements, like its glossy UI, neon colors, glowing effects, and just an overall futuristic vibe. However, as the game evolved, its UI and art direction gradually moved towards flatter, more modern styles, reflecting the transition from Frutiger Aero to Frutiger Metro. LazyTown is a kids' TV show that mixes live action with CGI and puppets to promote a healthy lifestyle. You got Sporticus, who does a backflip any chance he has. I swear, this guy is peak male performance. Like, you did not need to do all that. LazyTown is full of Frutiger eco, and another particular part of the show that always stood out to me was Sporticus's blimp, which to me was the most Frutiger Aero part of the show. And of course, we can't talk about LazyTown without mentioning Robbie Rodden. Rest in peace, Stephen Carl Stephenson. Mirror's Edge was a first-person parkour game developed by DICE and published by EA in 2008. The city you navigate through is a dystopian cityscape that aligns with eco-modernism through its fusion of natural and technological elements. A lot of the buildings are minimalist, with bold, bright colors that evoke a sense of optimism. In 2004, for the release of the SpongeBob movie, Nickelodeon used this intro, and it's chock full of water, glass, nature, just pure Frutiger Aero. Now, I'm not sure about this 100%, but apparently they only used this particular version of the intro once, so it just goes to show how special the SpongeBob movie was. I love that movie. Before the evil, vile thing that is simplification, this is what the Pepsi logo looked like in 2006. With reflections and water droplets, this logo just looks refreshing. Like, I want to eat this logo. I will eat this logo. Purple Plates was a collection of games included with Windows Vista and Windows 7. It has a lot of gloss, vibrant colors, and overall skeuomorphic designs. The game has a lot of eco-modernism in it, as it includes images of nature alongside modern technology. There's a more in-depth video about this by Izzy's, and yeah, you should check that out if you're interested. Sorry is a classic board game that's been around since 1934. The objective is to get all the player's pieces from the start to the home space, while trying to send the opponent's pieces back to the start. Now, this was around way before Frutiger Aero, but more recent versions of Sorry have glossier game pieces and brighter colors that align with Frutiger Aero, especially this version of the box. In the episode Atlantis Squarepantis, a bus takes SpongeBob and his friends to Atlantis, and its interior looks futuristic and pretty Frutiger Aero. It also reminds me of the Sporticus blimp from before. Also, fun fact, David Bowie did the voice for this guy. I just thought that was cool, I don't know. Windows Vista Ultimate had a feature they called Dream Scene that would let users set videos as their desktop background. It came with a pack of videos, and user Runner 105 uploaded them all to YouTube, so shout out to him. Windows Media Center was a media player that was released with Windows 7. It allowed users to play videos and music from local and network storage. After the release of Windows 7 in 2009, Microsoft decided to disband the team that worked on it. Then finally, in 2015, they finally announced that Windows Media Center would not be included in Windows 10. However, there are ways to install it on newer versions of Windows, but they aren't official, so do this at your own risk. Wow Wow Wubbzy was a kid series that aired on Nickelodeon from 2006 to 2010, about Wubbzy and his friends, Widget, Walden, and Daisy, as they go on various adventures together. It was created by Bob Boyle, who also directed shows like the Powerpuff Girls and the Fairly OddParents. The animation style is bright and colorful, and Wubbzy's house is pretty Frutiger Aero.
I love you, Wubbzy.
The PG era of the WWE started in 2008 and was a family-friendly approach to professional wrestling. I really don't know how this is Frutiger Aero though. I guess the logo at the time had some gloss to it, but besides that, I really don't know. Ocean Eyes was the second studio album by Owl City, and their most popular one at that. The album cover features Frutiger Aero with its use of water and blue-green color scheme. It also has the song Fireflies, which, come on, that's a staple song for the Frutiger Aero community. Four Seasons was a color scheme used by a lot of companies during the mid-2000s and 2010s. It consists of four colors, being electric lime, sky blue, hot pink, and neon orange. This began with console or technology that had colorways that would use the color scheme. Then eventually, when Apple advertised the iPod, they launched a campaign called Silhouette, in which they used and popularized the Four Seasons color scheme. Aerial pods are basically Tide pods, and their packaging is pretty Frutiger Aero. The pods themselves also remind me of those glass fruits you would see back in the day, which is probably why people wanted to eat them, including me. Bubble Guppies is a kid series that premiered on Nick Jr. in 2011. The show is set in an underwater world and follows a group of fish kids as they go on adventures. This is most likely on the list because it is underwater, and it has a big emphasis on harmony with nature. Eco-modernism! Flow is a game which was initially released as a free Flash game in 2006, which later got reworked into a PlayStation 3 game in 2007. You basically control a microorganism that's kinda just floating through an open plane. Its visuals are dreamlike and euphoric, and its soundtrack consists of mostly calming ambient soundscapes that fit the visuals really well. Now, at first I thought this entry was referring to this snow leopard, and I was really confused, but apparently these refer to these backgrounds that shipped out with macOS Snow Leopard, and it included these Aurora backgrounds that have blue and purple gradients. It also included other wallpapers that featured nature in it, but that's about it. Robots is a 2005 movie produced by Blue Sky Studios, and features glossy textures and vibrant colors, reminiscent of the Frutiger Aero style. It didn't have too much nature though, since the setting was mostly fully metal and mechanical. But it's on here. Samsung TouchWiz was a UI launched in 2009 by Samsung, and it featured Frutiger Aero through its use of skeuomorphism and overall glossy design. Then of course, it got simplified in 2017. Skylanders were a series of video games published by Activision in 2011. Its main feature was the use of bringing physical toys into the game by placing it on a portal of power. Each Skylander was assigned an element, like earth, air, or water. The advertisement for this game has elements of Frutiger Aero and elements of Frutiger Metro as well. In 2001, Sony collaborated with Swedish company Ericsson to create the Sony Ericsson. The Sony Ericsson's designs during the mid-2000s, especially this one, was peak Frutiger Aero, with its selection of vibrant colors and its super glossy exterior. Yeah, this is what phones will look like in 2014. Spore was a life simulation game published by EA in 2008. You basically oversee and guide species through evolution, and you could create your own ungodly abominations. This game has a lot of nature and reflections, as well as a good amount of gloss in its logo. Hexbugs was a line of robotic toys which mimicked insects and other critters. It was launched in 2007 and released several models such as ants, spiders, and scarabs. Some of these were translucent and came in bright and various colors. Solarpunk is a visionary movement similar to eco-modernism, in which the goal was to work toward a sustainable future where technology can coexist with nature. The term combines solar, which references renewable energy sources such as solar panels, and the punk part of it is supposed to encourage a do-it-yourself attitude, and it reflects its stance against current harmful norms in society. Detuned is a video game released on September 17th of 2009 in Japan, and served as an interactive art piece. It features a man sitting in a chair surrounded by a psychedelic environment. The player can apply certain effects on the man, which can make his head shrink or apply filters on the visuals and music. Now, aside from these little critters in the back, I really don't get the Frutiger Aero aspect of this one, but they're cute. Acer is a company that produces gaming PCs and other electronics. The wallpapers from Acer are extremely Frutiger Aero. It comes with nature and bubbles and a lot of Frutiger Aurora as well. Through a modding service called Better Discord, users are able to customize how their Discord's UI looks. There are several mods that give Discord a more Frutiger Aero feeling to it, such as Skeochord by Just Cursed Red Luigi, or RepoJun's AeroChord. I used to have these, but then my Discord updated and I'm way too lazy to try it out again, but you should definitely give it a shot. In the UK, a company named O2 operates a string of retail stores that are known as the O2 shops, which is basically just an electronic shop. The interior design is filled with blue coloring, and it also uses a lot of water and bubbles for its branding. If anybody's ever been here, let me know how it is. It looks very nice and interesting. LimeWire was a file sharing app launched in 2000, which allowed users to share and download music, videos, and other files. The logo for this was pretty Frutiger Aero, and again, I want to eat it. Num 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 num. Musical Wisps was a trailer created in 2012 that was released on Vimeo. It was never officially completed, but the video basically features two colorful orbs of light making sound as they glide across the screen. And yeah, I could see this being Frutiger Aero. UB Funkies was a Toys to Life game and a collectible figure series developed by Mattel and released in August of 2007. The concept was pretty similar to Skylanders, but the UB Funky series was discontinued in January of 2010. These toys scream 2000s to me, with some of the designs having a lot of influence from that era. It has elements of both Frutiger Aero and Metro, and it fits perfectly into this iceberg. So before iCloud, there was iTools. On January 5th of 2000, Apple launched iTools free for Macintosh. iTools was a collection of the following tools: iCards, a service where you can make greeting cards; iReview, which were reviews of popular websites; the homepage, which was to create and publish your own websites; iDisk, an online data storage service similar to iCloud; and KidSafe, a directory of websites that are just family friendly. It used skeuomorphism and also used gloss for its logo. It was then later replaced by .Mac, which we'll get into in a bit. MobileMe was introduced on June 9th of 2008 as a successor to iTools, and was a big stepping stone for what we have now. It added calendars, contacts, dashboard widgets, notes, and Find My iPhone. It also used a lot of the same design as iTools, making it Frutiger Aero as well. Pinocchio 3000 is a 2004 film, which basically is just a sci-fi take on Pinocchio. In this take, Pinocchio is a robot brought to life by tapping into a city's power surge, rather than being puppet animated by magic. It has themes of eco-modernism in the city it's based in, and some of the models have notable gloss. This movie bombed in the box office as well, and had a cancelled TV show that would have been named Pinocchio 3001. Internet Explorer is an old, dusty, elderly web browser that got discontinued in 2022. One of Internet Explorer's old logos included a deep gradient of blue, as well as some gloss. Honestly, these renditions of the logo are my personal favorite. I remember using Internet Browser back in my old day. And yeah, it sucked. But I had a lot of fun memories playing Flash games on it. Tetley Tea is the largest tea company in the UK and Canada. But I'm not gonna lie, this is not Frutiger Aero. Aside from the logo, which is barely Frutiger Aero, I really don't see why this is on the list. The mascot just looks like Keebler's cousin.
Feels good to be a gangster.
Okay, so bear with me. .Mac is basically the middle child of iTools and MobileMe. They're all just different names for the same shit. It came out in 2002 and it was a subscription-based system. I really don't have anything to say for this one, but the box art is awesome. Fruit Shoot is a band. No, it's not. Fruit Shoot is a brand of fruit juice drinks released in the 2000s that had a little Frutiger Aero in its logo. That's about it though. They also did have an Angry Birds collab, so yay! Welcome to Kitty City is a surreal animated video created by British animator Cyrac Harris, who is known for his distinctive and often bizarre animations. The video features a sequence of cats that multiply and contort into all kinds of shapes and sizes. All the music in the video is also composed by Cyrac himself. Now, I really don't see much Frutiger Aero in this personally, maybe aside from the landscape in the video, but either way it's a very cool video, and I'm not mad. Sushi Pack was an animated series that aired from 2007 to 2009, and it follows a team of little sushi heroes, wasabi, salmon, crab, and tuna, which gain sentience after being struck by lightning. Hey, that's how I gained sentience. It utilizes Frutiger Metro and uses the Four Seasons colorway. So we've reached the end. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was definitely different than anything I'm used to making. So if you guys enjoyed it, just leave a like. It did take some time. And, let me know what other type of content you'd like to see. I do have a very good series I'm excited about that I'm doing with my friend Yanni. And yeah, just be on the lookout for that. Yeah, that's basically it for me. I'm signing off.